Hello, listeners. I'm Cole Hughes with Tarleton Radio Network, and I'm here with Tarleton State University's Dr. Laurie Sharp, Executive Director of Strategic Academic Initiatives. She has a long history in education with a bachelor's and master's degree in elementary education, with a doctorate in educational leadership from Tarleton. Dr. Sharp is also the chair of the steering committee for Texan SMART, which is what we're here to talk about today. Thank you so much for speaking with me today about something new and exciting happening with Tarleton. And let's begin with what Texan SMART is and what your role is in that program.
Absolutely. The Texan SMART is Tarleton State University's Quality Enhancement Plan. We've shortened it to say QEP. And what that is every 10 years, the institution has to go through a reaffirmation process with who accredits us, which is the SAC-COC. And so they require the institutions to have a 5-year action plan that impacts student learning and success.
Okay.
So Tarleton went through a 2-year, 2-phase process that involved a broad range of stakeholders, and the topic of financial wellness and well-being emerged. And we've named this topic Texan SMART QEP.
I really, really like that. It's a need, and I'm kind of. Can you explain a little bit to the listeners what kind of spurred this program into really going to a huge new thing that's happening?
Absolutely. What's interesting is we landed on the topic, and when I say we, that's current students, alumni, faculty members, staff members, administrators, community members. There was really a broad range of folks that contributed, and the topic was determined before the COVID-19 pandemic. So the institution already prioritized financial wellness and well-being as a priority. But then COVID-19 has just affirmed that we were headed into the right direction. We understand that both students, faculty, staff, the institution itself has been impacted. And so we really have a good moment here to improve the university's processes. We can be financially well also.
Yes.
But then also to help students complete their program and leave their program as more financially well individuals.
That is extremely important. I think everyone understands that concept of, well, they're broke college students, but it's truly a very big issue right now, especially after COVID. Before we get too into specifics, can you talk about what tangible things Tarleton will be offering with Texan SMART?
Absolutely. There's 6 outcomes we hope to achieve. We've organized actions related to those outcomes into 2 different goals. The first goal is to establish the Texan Financial SMART Center. So we want to give students a space, and not just a physical space, but also a virtual space where they can go and develop tools, knowledge, skills related to financial literacy, how to ensure that they're not overtaking student loans and they graduate, to where their first salary annually is like 60% of what they owe in student loans.
Right.
We want students to be able to afford that. But then we also have a second goal, which is to improve processes and programs at Tarleton. So, for example, we're looking at 5-year graduate degree programs, and we're looking at scaling up opportunities where students can participate in applied learning experiences, which further enhances employability. So there's actually many actions related to those 2 goals, which will impact students both directly and indirectly.
Okay. You mentioned that you're looking specifically, this is a big topic right now, talking about student loan debt.
Yes.
You mentioned that's a goal, to have student loan debt that is at or below 60% of their first year's postgraduate annual wages.
Actually, what's interesting is the state of Texas set that goal.
Okay.
So we've been challenged by the state of Texas. They have we have the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. That's who governs all of the public institutions.
Okay.
And they have set that as a goal in their strategic plan. So our QEP is actually aligned with state efforts also.
Okay. All right. How is this program going to do that?
Well, the first step is to inform students. I know that the Office of Financial Aid does a tremendous job in trying to inform students, but they also have a lot of processes in order to get students each their financial aid package.
Yes.
So we understand and recognize that there's a need to address that. So empowering students to have that information and to make informed choice is the first step. A next step might be to encourage students to utilize academic support services like tutoring, supplemental instruction, because when you don't complete classes successfully, it delays your graduation, it costs time, and it costs money. And so you can save on student loan debt by being studious, utilizing tools and resources that are out there, so that way you can complete and stay on track and graduate within 6 years.
Okay, all right. I hear you when you're talking about the tutoring and the outside kind of studying methods. Are there any other ways that Texan Smart is helping with support the curriculum? Because I know a lot of students struggle gaining the degree just because they have to take classes over and over.
Well, and that's only one issue. Another issue, students who change their major. So another way in which Texan Smart can help our Tarleton Texans be smart is identifying what they want their major to be earlier on.
Okay.
If a student is so far down the road and then they find out what they want to do for the rest of their life, they may lose credit, or they may be coming in with credits. And so Texan Smart allows us to help create pathways to where students have clear advising pathways from beginning to end.
So will those advisors be different than the academic advisors, or will they just be academic advisors that are a little more specified?
We will always have academic advisors.
Right.
That is definitely a skill set that's needed. What you're probably talking about is the individuals who are informing students will be trained student workers. Those will be Texan Smart Financial Center peer coaches.
Okay.
We would, however, like to have a very coordinated effort. We can't expect an academic advisor to know everything about everything, but we want them to be able to say, those are great questions you have. You need to direct those to the Office of Financial Aid, or you need to go talk to a peer coach in the Texan Smart Financial Center. That way we can get students to the person who has the information more effectively.
All right. Wow. I really enjoy the peer coaching idea. That's really interesting. Something that was mentioned in your QEP was that you have a lot of student outcomes that you're looking for, and one of them is to decrease time to degree. How are you going to do that?
Well, it's not me unilaterally.
Yes, sorry. Texan Smart as a whole.
I knew what you meant. And what's interesting is this is a 5-year plan. So we're not going to roll everything out in year one, because everything needs to be well-timed and strategic. What you're talking about is probably an action that would involve a lot of stakeholders, particularly within the Division of Academic Affairs. So I imagine that department heads and their faculty members may look at their degree programs more closely. They may identify course sequences that make more sense. That probably involves collaborations with departments across different academic colleges.
Right.
Since students take classes all over the place out of the 6 academic colleges. So I think there's a real opportunity for us to really look at what are the employer wants and needs, what are the students' wants and needs, and let's re-examine our degree programs and make sure we're achieving both of those.
Okay. That sounds really good. I think it really fits with Tarleton's idea of applying your learning and really getting that outside input. I know, especially being at Tarleton Radio and being at Tarleton Radio Network, we every day get a chance to apply that learning that we have in the classroom and really what employers are going to want. Something else I wanted to mention was, if we are recognizing that, of course, financial insecurity is high in college students, and Texan Smart is supposed to support students in that way. Are you going, or is Texan Smart going to partner or work with student counseling services with Tarleton at all because of that financial stress?
Actually, the Texan Smart QEP has a lot of opportunity to connect with those services, with services offered in the Division of Student Affairs. I've had many conversations with Dr. Laura Helvey Mason.
Yes.
She has some phenomenal resources that she has really kind of gotten together under the Tex Connect umbrella.
Okay.
So those are resources to connect students to. There's a number of insecurities that Tarleton students have expressed that they have, which have even been magnified more because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So yes, I envision that there will be opportunities for student counseling services to play a role, as well as the basic needs insecurities. Students who may have housing needs, they may have food needs, they may have clothing needs. So and actually we've dedicated some of the funds that the university is committing for the budget to support those activities.
Okay. All right. What some of those activities again? I'm sorry. What are some of those activities again? I'm sorry.
Well, for example, maybe providing more resources for the Purple Pantry.
Okay.
We have a pretty good pantry here in
Yes,
Stephenville,
yes.
but remember, we also have Tarleton students at outreach centers such as Waco and Fort Worth and Midlothian. So I know that we've been making efforts to make sure that those students' needs are met, but we can certainly do more. So there's ways in which we can strengthen and scale up services that we offer students, and maybe even facilitate connections with community agencies in
Okay.
order to get students connected with services more easily.
Okay. So we're talking a little bit about the financial center itself. You mentioned a lot of the things that you'll be offering, a lot of the services, and how you might connect with outside departments and such. But how are you going to connect and encourage students to use the Texan Smart Financial Center?
Well, we're doing it right now by creating awareness.
Right.
That's the first step.
Of course.
I have put on the radar of my supervisor and the supervisor above him is we do need to identify a space. So that's one of the first things is a physical space so that students have a place they can go to, but also making sure that there's virtual connectivity because
Okay.
we have students that learn online and again,
Yes,
students
of
that are
course.
not based here in Stephenville. So we want to be sure that we're being very inclusive in the services that we offer. So I think once we get this launches and we have that space and we're ready to go, we're hiring a director right now.
Okay.
So that person will oversee the daily operations of the Texan Smart Financial Center as well as the actions related to the QEP as a whole. So once we get those things in order, I imagine that students will probably find us. They'll be willing to
Yes.
come to us. The pulse I've gotten from students I've interacted with, and I do want to say that a lot of student input was taken into this QEP when we were developing it. They are very excited about this topic. And I think students will recognize this is to help them. And I think when they envision the importance of that, they'll be willing to access those resources.
Yeah, I will be glad to see this physically happen for sure. I know, I think you were talking a little bit before our interview about it starting kind of in 2018, kind of starting the planning process and getting stuff. And I'm glad that it's finally to the point where we can see a little more physical and a little more awareness of what's going on.
Absolutely. And there's a web landing page for the QEP, and there will be assessment data that's posted on there regularly.
Okay.
That way students can look and see, as well as faculty, staff members. It's publicly accessible, so any stakeholder can access that information to see what impact we're having.
Okay. What would you say the top priority for this program, Texan Smart, is?
Well, gosh, how long do you have? Honestly, the ultimate goal is exactly what the focus is, to improve financial wellness and well-being. I think for me, particularly among the students who have at risk for attrition characteristics, students who are first generation, students who are traditionally and historically underserved in higher education contexts, students who are Pell eligible, students who may not be able to complete a FAFSA in order to seek financial aid awards.
Right.
I think that I'm really more excited that the Texan Smart QEP has an opportunity to make sure that we're taking care of all of our students, particularly those that sometimes aren't front and center.
I like that. We definitely need to think about those students that aren't always the thing you see automatically, for sure. What would you say the biggest challenge is going into the further implementation of Texan Smart?
If you had asked me that question a few months ago, I would have said the funding.
Yes, for sure.
But
Funding
I
is
am proud
incredible right now.
to share that honestly was not an issue at all. I think President Hurley, Provost Murray, a lot of all of the VPs, all of cabinet really got behind the Texan Smart QEP. And so funding wasn't an issue at all, which in this day and age, that's probably a rarity.
It is incredible that happened for sure.
I think right now the biggest challenge is going to be identifying and hiring the just right person to be the director of the Texan Smart Financial Center.
Okay.
The posting is live, but quite honestly, I've worked very hard to make sure that advertisement is out there in multiple outlets, so that way we can find the just right person to lead this effort, because it is so important for our students.
What are you searching for when you're looking for this director?
They do have to have a master's degree or higher. We definitely want that person to have a strong commitment to student success and experience with student retention initiatives. Having familiarity with the financial wellness and well-being space would definitely be important. And we certainly want it to be someone who is not afraid to be a risk taker.
Okay.
We've got an outline of some actions we want to take, but an element of creativity, definitely persistence and grit are needed. And most importantly, a heart for our students. You are going to absolutely have to have a strong commitment to student success in order to be considered a candidate for this job.
Right. When can we expect this program to finally be available for students?
Well, the SAC-COC site visit is the week of April 12th. And so shortly after that, we will be obviously finishing up our spring semester. The Texan Smart Financial Center director should be in place by July 1st. So I imagine a full rollout fall of 2021.
All right. Wow. That's incredible. Very exciting. Very exciting for sure. Where can listeners find more information about Texan Smart if they want to look some more stuff up?
Well, we've been sending a lot of awareness information out, so definitely check your Go Tarleton email.
Okay.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Texan Smart. We do have a web landing page. So in the Tarleton homepage, if you just put Texan Smart QEP in the search bar, then you could access the web landing page quite easily, and just look for the printed materials around campus, as well as the postings that you'll see on both social media and in your student email.
All right. If they would like to contact someone directly, who might they go for?
You can reach out to me anytime.
Okay.
My email is lsharp@tarleton.edu, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
All right. Well, this has been Cole Hughes with Tarleton Radio Network, joined by Tarleton State University's Dr. Laurie Sharp. Thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to hearing more and seeing more information about Texan Smart.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.